Hello and welcome to UpFront. I'm your host, Lorenzo Henderson. Today we're going to be talking about intergenerational politics and how it's affecting Milwaukee and new Milwaukeeans, leaders who want to make change. But before we get into that discussion, let me introduce to you our guest panelists. Paula Butler, an organizer for a nonprofit agency. Calvin Lee, a political consultant. Michael Rogers, president of Quest Systems and host of Milwaukee Justice Live, Steve Youngman. Let me start off with Calvin Lee. Calvin, there's been a lot of discussion about intergenerational politics. In fact, it's probably more talked about now than it was previously in the last couple of decades. What do you think is the cause of intergenerational politics? Why is it that a lot of leaders do not want to hand over the baton or hand over the leadership in order to help those, to spur more and better leaders for Milwaukee today?
I think there's a couple of reasons, but I think we all need to be mindful on how we define what is a better leader or how we choose leaders and things of that nature. Part of the issue is whether or not we've got individuals capable, ready to step up to the plate and who are assertive and want to show that leadership. And I think just from the number of conversations that I've had around the town is that come 2004, you're going to find that you're going to have a lot of younger, inspired folks step out and step up to the plate and exude that leadership that I'm talking about.
Paula, what do you think about that? Do you agree with Calvin Lee about that, that there is some level of hesitation or they're not ready to give up the leadership? What's your opinions about that?
That may be part of it. You know, sometimes folks get really wrapped up in themselves and the job that they're doing, their responsibilities and stuff like that, and they forget that it's about the people that they're serving. And the younger blood would definitely bring different ideas in how politics is and what it means to the community, especially in light of the various things that have been going on in Milwaukee.
You're not speaking of Gen X when you say the younger blood, are you?
Yes, definitely.
Okay, Steve?
I think there's two issues here, Lorenzo. One of them is that the old guard doesn't want to retire. They want to hold on to their power. There's definitely an issue there, but and maybe it's because they live longer. But secondly, I think there is an issue of the quality of Generation Xers. The way that they're perceived may not be true.
What are some of those perceptions?
That they're a little bit lazy, that they don't have the moral drive, the moral fiber,
a little bit
and
of
discipline, no commitment to the issues. They'll go out and protest something, but that's it. You know, they don't want to do the hard work of continuing day after day of writing editorials or whatever they have to do to go be on the front lines. I don't think they've been passed on that spirit of drive. I mean, let's face it, I think some of them have the moral equivalency of a Tootsie Roll.
Holy cow. What about you, Michael Rogers? I might agree with you on some of that. Go ahead. Michael Rogers, what you think about it?
I don't know about that Tootsie Roll thing, but I see the young people not taking on, sure, the same characteristics that we have as older people, as baby boomers. And by not taking on those characteristics, by not showing those types of things that are important, they're going to, well, we look upon the younger people sometimes as, you know, by not seeing things the way we see them, we see them as, you know, going the wrong direction. I don't think it's the wrong direction. I think we need these young people involved in politics. I think we need these young people becoming activists in our community.
But they're not trying. They're not trying.
I think that's unfair. I think that's unfair to say that we're not trying because you've got many of young folks that are here in Milwaukee County that are in a number of positions. You've got our county exec who's 34 years of age. The Milwaukee County exec is 34 years of age. So you've got people in various prominent roles, but I think that come 2004, you will see a larger push for younger professionals to move into the realm of politics. But once again, it's whether or not we will be able to take down the old guard, plain and simple.
So out with the political dinosaurs, come with the chewing bubblegum, Tootsie Rolling, watching video games, and that's going to save the world.
Well, it's just not true. Plain and simple, it's just not true.
There's exceptions to the rule. I'm sure you're one.
Gen Xers are the biggest supporter of third-party candidates. Gen Xers are also the biggest protesters for WTO. We're involved in a lot of different organizations. We're activists. We do the day-to-day things, the editorials and all other stuff. It's just perhaps we don't believe the political system is working in a way that we want it to. So when 2004, when we do get into office and we are supported, I think you're going to see different changes. I think a lot of us think the way things have gone, they need to change.
All right, you say these changes are going to occur. What are you going to do about the Generation Yers when the Ys come? Are you guys going to be willing to deal with them?
I think it's a matter of just like the baby boom generation, whether or not we're being embraced. Can we embrace this? We can't afford to let our egos and personalities come into play. You have a responsibility to our generation. Our generation has a responsibility to those that are coming behind us, plain and simple. And we all need to step up to the plate. We're working, we're living, and this is a time that in our city we're going to definitely need one another, especially come the 2004 election. No matter what party affiliation you're with or what your politics are, we're going to need one another, bottom line.
Okay. All right, let's continue this discussion after this commercial break. Welcome to UpFront, and we'll be back right after these messages. Thank you. Hello, welcome back to UpFront. I'm your host, Lorenzo Henderson. We're going to continue our discussion on intergenerational politics. I hope you enjoyed this segment so far. Most of all, in our discussion, you know, what I hear is, Steve, you really are, you're really hammering Generation X.
Well, I'll put a little blame on the previous generation, because if the previous generation...
Not the boomers. Are you blaming
the boomers? Me, yeah, I'll put it on us. If we were so great, how come we didn't instill those values into our kids and into the previous generation? In part, so I think parents have to take some responsibility. They sacrificed, they provided, but for somehow they didn't give that spiritual kind of commitment to those values that they cherished so much, that brought the wealth and brought the materialism. And so we'll take some credit there, but on the other hand, I think the Generation Xers...
Who's more to blame?
Xers. Okay. You got to take your own responsibility.
Right, you got to take your own responsibility.
Xers are more to blame.
It's absolutely impossible because we haven't been in any political leadership positions, which is how this whole conversation started.
But they're saying that you haven't even tried.
Be responsible for the wrongdoings of the world. It's not possible.
Just like what I was saying when Paula was saying, what I was saying to Paula was, you know, there have been, you guys are, not you guys, but Generation X is being accused of not participating, not wanting to make changes, waiting for other people to make changes, and actually it's leaving it all up to the boomers.
Let me
Myself
say this.
and all the right, what?
What's interesting is that my colleague here, Steve, said that, you know, the baby boom generation should take responsibility. This is not hard. Look, if we look across this country, when politicians want, they strike out to get the young vote. They'll go out and ask for them to do volunteer work. We've got a young brother who's mayor of Detroit City. He's 31 years of age. So you and you've got
and who helped them get there? The boomers. The boomers helped them get there.
I bet you if you look at the demographics, especially in the city of Detroit, those Generation Xers came out to vote. Those young professionals came out to vote. That catapulted his candidacy over an incumbent.
Are those the exceptions, though, Cal?
That may be the exception.
Let me ask you this. If the old dinosaurs, as Lorenzo calls them, they're not willing to give up power, and they've got the base, and they've got all these machines working for them, it's almost impossible to have Generation X prove themselves, except for in those rare cases.
I think that what you're going to find, such as what happened here in Milwaukee County, and come 2004, you're going to find many more young professionals, Generation Xers and so forth, step up to the plate, accept the responsibility, and move forward with a new vision, and then we can surely be identified.
All right, Mike Rogers, let me hear some of your opinions about this.
Well, you know, I think many of the Generation Xers feel that the fix is in as far as the political game. So they found other interests, like saving the planet.
That's what they're doing video games.
Now, that is interesting, right.
There's a brown cloud over India, Pakistan, and southern China, and it's killing thousands of people. And these are the types of issues that Generation Xers really get their teeth into. They're the types of issues that they can actually lead in, because our generation, the baby boomers, you know, we're still making this corporate money, and long as we're making those particular profits, we sort of could care less about the environment.
But guess what? The Generation Xers, the tree huggers, the can pickup generation groups. Let's save the world. Boo-hoo, I'm against the mayor. Let's stop pouring toxins into the water. Drinking the water in the morning at the same time. They're not going after corporations. They're going after trying to put people into more in the causes. Not the corporations that's dumping. They would just protest, different from the other group, the baby boomers, who know what they did is evolved. They not only protested, they moved from the next level and became CEOs, directors, and made changes from within.
It's interesting because you said that they become CEOs and so forth. And the Generation Xers, this whole technology, the dot-com companies were for the most part started by Gen Xers. They've come in and whether they were computer youth that start out playing computer games and things of that nature, now they're multimillionaires. They're making contributions, and you made another point, Mr. Henderson, that the different causes that we attach ourselves onto. If you look back, say the Vietnam era, whether you agreed with the politics that were going on or not, that generation, there was mass protests.
They got involved.
Mass protests, and I think that Gen Xers, as Mr. Rogers stated, we found that so many people have become disdained with politics. We found other interests to get involved in. And
but isn't it something more than tree hugging and picking up cans? Isn't it more to life than that? I know. Go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, I think that the issue is really the underpinnings of why do people do what they do. Why do they attach themselves to causes, and which causes? What's motivating them deep inside them? And I don't know if they have that impetus to be motivated, Generation X.
Let me say this. In appearing and getting more on track with the subject here in intergenerational politics, why is it that the old political dinosaurs are not willing to reach out to new leadership? Tell me your opinion.
I think that it depends on the area, meaning I'm sure that across this country you're going to find people that become very comfortable in their current positions, become complacent to some degree. However, there are a number of elected officials that are reaching and grooming young professionals to possibly succeed after them, or better yet, if it's such as myself, everything that I'm learning thus far, if I don't pursue a career in politics, I'm prepared to move on and do some other things.
Why is it, all right, so you have this group that's helping. Why is it that, what about this other group that is not helping? What do you think is in their minds from you being from the Generation X? Why is it that this other group is not wanting to help or pass on the baton for greater and better leadership for our country? Why do you think some of these leaders are inhibited to helping?
I think my gut feeling is telling me that people become comfortable in their current places, in their current positions. And with comfort, I think that there is a sense of complacency as well. And
is it jobs? Is it that they're afraid of losing their pension?
It could possibly be job security or anything.
Because a lot of that had to do with the county race a little bit. They feel that had a lot to do with it. That I didn't want to leave this. It's the cushiest job I ever had. Let me hang on to it. And everybody within that group who was appointed wanted to hang on to it. Paula, let me ask you, what is your opinion about that?
I think a lot of people who are in public service, elected positions, I think they forget sometimes that it's not about them. It's not about their ego. It's about the people that they're serving. And I imagine that must be extremely difficult with the pressures of the job and everything. But I think sometimes people lose sight that this is not about me. It's about everybody else, all the people I serve. And I think maybe that's what it is. It's just getting caught up in the moment and the responsibilities and forgetting that.
Well, that's the ideal. That's the ideal. But I'm curious, your Generation X, Paula, what's their view on the war on terrorism, for example? Are they getting involved in that somehow? That's a critical issue for the whole world.
Well, it would be ridiculous for me to speak on this and represent every single Generation Xer out there. But you do see our generation, my generation, tackling world issues.
Yeah, but like hunger and things like that. I mean, this is a world issue of war.
It is.
And they're usually been shined from war, the tree huggers, as he calls them. So what's your viewpoint? What's Generation X?
I can't speak for everybody, but I don't think Gen Xers really support a war under the current government.
Why? Can they even say why?
I know I can say why. I can ask a 21-year-old if you'd like and see what kind of answer you get. But I mean, yeah, I believe the leadership in this country was not supported by the Generation Xers. We mostly supported Nader.
So if they didn't get their person, they're not going to support the United States of America.
That's what.
No, we're not supporting it because it's not well-founded. He's violated UN sanctions.
We were bombed. We were attacked.
Right.
All right, let me just say this. Firmly, I'm a patriot. And in saying that, meaning that you want to, you can tree hug and pick up all the cans you want to. I think that some of the views that some of the older guard of politicians, the political dinosaurs, as I call it, will like to remain, put everybody in their place so that they can remain in power. That becomes they actually get high off their own game or their own, their own thing that they're doing. However, I would like to see, as Calvin Lee had said in 2004, to see this new leadership rise. I want Generation X to prove something to me, a boomer. Prove to me in 2004 you're ready to take the chance, make some changes, and change our existing structure. Because in order for you, like Paula was saying, to get mad at the government, not mad at the government, excuse me, to be displeased with the current government, but then you have to make changes. It isn't just a voiceless opinion that you make. You got to make an action. You got to make a change of action. So, in that in mind.
Well, I think that's typical of the philosophy we've been talking about. If Generation X doesn't get what they want, they're not going to support any issue.
I still think that it's unfair.
I believe that.
Yes, Mike.
The older generation, sure enough, they talk about passing on the baton. But it's sort of like passing on the baton, like I'm raising my son Patrick, right? I see my son as going into the same trade areas, the same type of occupational areas I'm in. When my son doesn't want to go that route, which he doesn't, then I feel that what he's doing is not important. So I'm thinking of passing on a baton to him, but in the way that I want him to receive that baton and use that baton. That's where I say that Generation Xers, they want to do it their way. And they haven't found that, going through the process that's out there now is a way of them.
Are you supporting these Tootsie Rollers?
Well, I have to say that my generation has got us glowing in the dark.
I'm looking at you and I'm saying, are you the same age as us? I mean, I'm just saying, I hear what you're saying. I'm listening to what you're saying. I guess I'm split.
I think Mike has made a valid point that.
Of course you're going to look for someone who agrees with
he's made a valid point that whether you want to call us Tootsie Rollers or not, he's made a valid point in the sense that maybe the old guard does want to pass the baton in a certain way, in a certain fashion. And I would agree that within the system, I would work within the system. However, I have my own vision on how this should be done and how to represent the people and things of that nature. The way you may have led a certain district or a county may not be the same vision that I have, and I think Gen Xers are actually going to be exuding much of their philosophies or their visions come 2004.
Well, before we go into our next break, let me ask you this. What does Gen Xers plan to do about the Gen Ys? Because we had to deal with you guys. So what are you going to do with Gen Ys?
We're going to work with them.
Oh, yeah?
We will work with them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure. The Gen Xers are going to teach the Gen Ys things like
how to chew bubble gum?
Entrepreneurship. If you look at entrepreneurship today, small business startups today, you're seeing a lot more than we had in our generation. Okay, we see Gen Xers actually out there taking a risk, where we see people in my generation locking onto a job, locking onto a retirement, and saying, hey, I'm just going to get my foothold, my roots right here, and I'm not going to move around. And this next generation is a generation of risk takers and more creative people.
And let me just add on to that too. With what Mike just said was, look at A.O. Smith here in Milwaukee. You had generations from one particular family that had a foothold on a secure job.
Right.
And manufacturing jobs, industrial jobs are slowly but surely, they're leaving this country.
Absolutely.
They are. So we've had no other choice but to become entrepreneurs and think out of the box and be creative in that aspect. So.
And to bring awareness to the fact that these companies are leaving because of different laws that are in place that allow them to leave and are leaving us behind.
Laws that were created by dinosaurs.
Exactly.
And
so not only
boomers.
do we have the awareness, people need to change their personal actions in supporting these or these various products.
That maybe Generation X will get skipped altogether for leadership?
No.
Because listen why.
I think
people live longer, they're healthier. The boomers are going to be able to stay longer in power because of the change. We live longer, we're healthier, we can stay in power longer. And by the time we pass the baton, we might be looking at the younger 20, 30-year-olds, which will be Generation Y, and skip a lot of those.
Are you saying that the boomers are scared to give it to Generation X?
It just might be by longevity alone that we lose them.
Okay, let me go into our next. Let's close on this for 1 second. We'll be right back after this commercial break. Thank you. Okay. Welcome back to UpFront. I'm your host, Lorenzo Henderson. We were discussing intergenerational politics, and we're moving from political dinosaurs and Tootsie Rolls to community economic development. One of the issues that concern us here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin a lot is economic development in the city of Milwaukee and the progress it's made. Of course, some of these issues have been moved forward through decisions and policies through our government. But we're here to discuss for the next few minutes about what else needs to be done in order to make further progress here as regards to economic development in the city of Milwaukee. Let me start off with Steve Youngman.
Well, first of all, I have a small business myself, and I think that Milwaukee has made excellent strides in helping the small business owner. They've done a number of initiatives.
Who's Milwaukee when you say, you talking government?
City of Milwaukee, yeah,
okay.
The government. They've got a number of programs out there to help the small business owner. They've realized finally that it is small businesses that are the crux really to the U.S. economy. It's, well, we've got these large mega things going, and they can hurt us like WorldCom when they go down and things like that. The fact is, we've been based on small business, the mom and pop stops and all those places. And while maybe we're changing economically, that's still been underpinning a base for what's going to happen in the future. And I think it's good that they've recognized that.
We move to Mike Rogers, because I know you own your own Quest Systems. Tell me, what you think about what Steve said?
You know, I think what Steve said is absolutely correct. I'd also like to say that the mom and pop businesses that we have, the cottage industries, we sort of call them, I see those as viable, as important, but I don't see those as the type of businesses that will, pay health and benefits to their employees, and be able to give a person a living wage. Okay, I do see that is important as community businesses, but Milwaukee on the greater scale, I see economic development not doing very well, and one reason I believe is training of our younger people, our individuals in the community to match the jobs, opportunities that are out here today.
Calvin Lee.
I agree with Mike, but I would like to also add that I think that it boils down to trying to get more education. And I think that we've actually vacated the trades and things of that nature, seeing that Milwaukee years ago was such a manufacturing industrial town, and now we're moving away from that slowly but surely and getting more into computers and technology. I'd like to see education start in the elementary level, gearing our young folks and having computers in the classrooms and things of that nature, where you now have Gen Xers that are thinking out the box creatively and doing all the entrepreneurial type of things. But the unfortunate thing about it is, like Mike said, many of these companies unfortunately cannot pay that family living wage and provide the insurance necessary. So.
Right. So in other words, the old structure of small business mom and pop, like this delicatessen that's off of King Drive, that was a mom and pop. I think some of you are familiar with it. That is, are you saying that's becoming extinct, or is not able to withstand the?
No, I would say keep in mind, I think that all of those types of businesses are fabrics of our neighborhood. Things that are desperately needed in our neighborhoods. We can easily walk to work. We can easily go there to take their services, use their services, and things of that nature. But I think that Milwaukee needs to be a little more aggressive in trying to...
As a whole?
As a whole.
Okay.
As a whole. And trying to provide and look at other ways of... This last census period, we lost a number of people here in the city of Milwaukee for whatever reason. And it's probably due to lack of jobs.
Paula, let me hear your opinion about it.
I think with the changes in W-2, we've lost a lot of people who would be entering and being a part of the economic development because of the lack of the education stipend. A lot of these folks, were semesters, even a couple credits short of completing degrees. So I think to a degree, the county, the city has to step up and allow some position, some movement for low-income individuals to step up and reach that level
now, I want to get back to the same thing that Steve said. I want more explanation of when you say the city, are you talking government? Are you talking manufacturing companies, both public and private industries are you talking, right?
I'm speaking mostly public, mostly government, because that was something that was previously covered, and it was one of the better things we had previously to W-2. And I think it's a shame that it was never adopted into the W-2. It was just everybody was cut off and you had to fend for yourself, and it definitely hurt the development of the city.
I think it's interesting that the whole nation, not just Milwaukee, has to be able to change their perception. Everyone's being specialized now, and you've got to change for that. I mean, we used to get broad liberal arts degrees and you could go into anything. Now you've got to be trained from computers and programming and a lot of the intelligent type proficiencies that you need now. You can't just broadly study anymore, which narrows people's choices later, especially if something crashes and the market loses and your skills are no longer good.
Some say that the reason the structure is changing like that is so that government would maintain control over you.
No.
No, you disagree?
I disagree also.
Okay. Anybody agree with that opinion?
Government can't control itself. So
they want
I tell you,
they may want to, but that's right.
They may want to. I mean, I don't know. I think Bush is doing a pretty good job.
Big Brother is going to happen, but not so much. It may become the government, but right now, Big Brother is everyone with their video camera going around and seeing everything happening, and you can't get away with anything, which is, in a sense, a good thing.
But there's misconceptions with that too. But that's for another topic, another show. On economic development, all right, and we're in with the last minute here and saying, what is it, and let's give me 30 seconds to a minute, what do you feel are the changes that need to be made in order to move community economic development or economic development forward? Because we're in struggling times here, the economy is hitting fast, you got WorldCom and Enron, corporate, the biggest corporate theft ever in history in America. What can we do to survive that and survive economic development situations in our economy today? Let's start with you, Calvin.
I think that you're going to find more people thinking out the box, and you're going to see more entrepreneurs creating their own businesses and finding their own niches in the economy. And I would hope that we would start to see more of our younger folks, or even many of our adults, return back to professions such as the trades and things of that nature.
I think with capitalism, which allows people to have fair rules but freedom, the market is self-correcting. You'll have your downs, but it will come back up, it'll adjust, it'll fix. People will find those jobs where they're going to be in the future as the market corrects itself and you find out what the vision of the future is going to be.
I think that training is the key to economic development for our community. I think we have to train these people to match the jobs that are out there. We also have to do some training in areas of this city as far as not just workplace training, but training for very basic competencies, very basic skills, and interpersonal skills. People just don't, people have to know how to go to work, and they have to know how to go to work and do that job.
Is that responsibility of, I know, and I'll get to Paul in a second, but is that a responsibility of ours, or is it our mothers and fathers? So that's my thing about work ethic. I was taught through my parents, and I don't think that responsibility lays on the industry or society to teach me how to get up and go to work, 8:30 to 5, stay on your job, do the very best you can. So when you said that statement, it just triggered something inside me, thinking that I run into quite a few people that believe that should society be responsible for it? And I say, no, your family is responsible for work ethics, basically.
And I believe that for a long time, Lorenzo. I believe that for a long time.
But does training patches that up? Does training, being trained in that, because it's more robotic than it is instilled inside a family structure?
We have to do things now that the home has failed to do. And we have to approach that. One way to approach that is through training.
Okay.
If we want to bring about or achieve a change, we can make those changes happen through training.
Okay. And Paula?
I'm just going to state, plainly, education. I agree.
Okay.
The training, thinking outside the box, but everybody has to be allotted the opportunity to expand their education, basic education in general, and basic money handlings and everything like that. The Girl Scouts and other agencies are doing that with children. But I mean, yes, in just education, we have got to allow more people the opportunity to go to trade schools, to get higher education degrees.
Okay. All right, I'd like to thank our host, not our host, excuse me. I'd like to thank our guest panelists for today for being on UpFront. We'd like to see you, we will see you next week. We'll have other issues that we were talking about, the mayor, who will be the best mayor for Milwaukee, and issues about child smuggling and kidnapping in Milwaukee. We have to do something about that. Take care, and I'll see you soon. God bless.